Live. Good morning, everyone. I hope you having an amazing weekend so far. Today is Sunday, May the 26th, 2024. Your man is back in front of your screen with a new topic. Well, before we get into the topic, how you guys doing, man? How you doing? How has your weekend been? Well, I can't really talk about mine because I've made a decision that I wanted to work the whole weekend. And part of the reasons I always share that with you guys. I'm not messing around, I am playing around. I'm working all these hours, I'm killing it because I am trying to build something greater in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Of course, you need the money to finance any sort of projects that you got going on, correct? And I don't have any other source of income yet, as of the moment I'm recording this video, but my job. So I have to depend on my full-time employment to provide me with the fund that I need to continue to finance my projects that I am undertaking back in the Congo, right? So I am just going to allow you guys to join the chat, a few of you, before we can get this started. But do me a favor, hit the like button as soon as you join the chat, whether you're watching live or on a replay, and also make sure you drop it in the comment section where you're tuning in from, and I will really appreciate it. But you guys know we have these conversations because we are trying to shed some light on where there's darkness, right? We're all trying to get answers on certain things that are bothering us, okay? We all trying to get out of this modern slavery, and having these conversations from time to time as a healer, right? It's kind of revitalizing hope and encouraging us to do what needs to be done in order for us to get out of this Western distortion where we all think that better life can only be found here. And that's the very topic of this video, by the way, that I will be talking about just in a minute. The reason and the real reason why most Africans end up living the continent of Africa for a better life abroad or for better opportunities elsewhere, okay? So it looks like I got a few people in the building, and if you guys can do me a favor, hit the like button, and in the comment section let me know where you're tuning in from so we can get this live stream, going. So by the way, how has your weekend been, guys? My weekend is I've been working, the whole weekend. I worked yesterday, today is Sunday, I'm on my way to work. Guys, it's a holiday weekend, and when you get the holiday pay, it's double time and a half, so I can't beat that. I'm like, you know what, why not just work all this overtime and get the check? Because let me just say it, right? The reason why I work this whole weekend and tomorrow is the Memorial Day, because I'm trying to pull, a fat check, and that check is going to be put aside to build my chicken coop for my poultry farming projects that I've been singing about the whole time on my YouTube channel. And there you have it. Now you're like, wow, why, Murph? Why aren't you taking a break, man? Well, you got to take care of yourself. I know all of that. But this is just a 1 week sacrifice, or maybe every other, holidays that we have. So we kind of have to chase that. I'm not the only one. There's a lot of coworkers doing the same thing too. All right, where you guys tuning in from, man? Okay, enough of that. It's time to get into the meat and potatoes of today's topic. So sit back, grab a glass of wine. Let's have this conversation, shall we? All right, without further ado, let's go straight to today's live stream. Guys, I'm going to assume if you are watching this video, you're either from Africa, living in America, living abroad, or you just love African problems. You want to know what's going on in Africa, right? You watch African, African videos, contents, or you relate to the topic and you are curious to hear what I got to say, right? So let's start with reason number one. One of the main reasons that most young Africans, African youth, are determined to leave the continent is due to the fact that most African governments, they don't have policies in place that benefit African youth. The reason I say that, you would notice that in most African countries, governments, it's the same older folks in the government over and over and over. They believe their ideology is the best and that no younger people could bring contribution to the government, thus changing the way things are done in Africa. So these older folks, they are keen to provide or deliver to their constituents what they believe is what they need. But in reality, the world has evolved. A lot of things have changed, and African youth are the most marginalized. There aren't opportunities, there aren't chances to become entrepreneur with government funds or with government help. So most people are forced to single-handedly try to do what's best to make it. And due to the economic challenges that a lot of African countries face, the African youth found themselves in a dilemma where it's highly impossible to get out of the situation because their domestic governments are unable to deliver things that they want, whether it is employment, other entrepreneurial opportunities. They conduct research on countries who are willing to do better for their youth. Therefore, a lot of young Africans end up leaving the continent of Africa. But trust me, they wouldn't want to leave if those policies were put in place and that the African youth were the first beneficiary of those policies. Because you will notice that most African leaders, they only enrich themselves as well as their family members and leaving a great portion of the population in misery, and they don't give a effing, they don't give a damn. They don't want to have anything to do with it. No matter how many times you march, how many times you protest, those policies are never going to change. Because most African governments are nitpicked by, foreign governments. If I'm going to be more precise when I make that statement, it's going to be Western governments, all right? These powerful nations, they want African leaders to continue to serve them. And that's why even in their own countries, which they consider first world countries, the youth is going through the same struggles. When you watch the news very closely, you will realize that in these countries, the youth are slowly by slowly becoming increasingly marginalized because governments, they only vote or encourage people who adhere to their ideology to win Senate seats or House of Representative seats, because if they're going to continue to serve the same master that they have been serving for a very long time. And when we talk about issues of like powerful lobbying groups that are influencing money in politics, whether in America or other countries, or let me just speak on behalf of America, it is making people enraged. People are very pissed off about it, and they start questioning the importance of voting anymore. Whether you vote or not, things are still the same. People are not getting ahead. People are still romping around the same circles all the time. At least in Western countries, those opportunities are still existence. That's why a lot of African youth are struggling and are butting heads to come and collect the crumbs that are left, right, in these countries, because they don't want to live the same lifestyle, or whether they come from a family where those opportunities did not exist, so they have to go look for it elsewhere. And those are one of the challenges that African youth are facing when it comes down to, doing better in life and actually having a chance to stay in Africa and do greater things. It's not their fault. They are being forced by local governments to go outside of the country. And those government officials, they only have those opportunities available for their own family members. When you have somebody who's a senator, but then in his cabinets there's no one else but their own family members, and that's a very serious issue there. Not only in politics, so if we get into business, we get into public office, right? That supposed to, help the population, because most African countries don't operate under, meritocracy, where someone graduate college and they go apply for a job, they take the test, and they make the cut. But you will find yourself surprised to be selected, because the CEO of the company, who was, by the way, picked by powerful governmental entities, and they're going to want their family members to occupy the key positions so that they can keep the money within the family, right? And when you are going through all this intensive tests and criminal background checks and all of that, it's just a formality to prove that, hey, by the way, this is how many people we have interviewed, this is how many people we tried to recruit, but unfortunately none of them had made the cut. But for some reason, the CEO's son, daughter, nephew, auntie somehow manages to pass all the tests and make the oral boards and gain the seats, right? So it's an issue that you will find in a variety of sectors. It's not only in one place, but when it becomes repetitive in many different sectors, it is a practice that has been going on for a very long time. And when African youth see these things, they're just like, all right, screw it. I don't really want to stay here. I might as well go look for those opportunities elsewhere. While knowing that there are like huge opportunities being left behind in Africa, but they still don't have a choice but to leave, because in order for you to exploit and enjoy these opportunities, you need to have powerful tools that are provided to you by the government to empower you, to give you the ability, right, to discover these opportunities. When they just tell you, here are all the opportunities, but you don't have any sort of tools to enjoy those opportunities, what's even the reason? It's almost like someone saying, okay, you're hungry, right? But here, I'm gonna give you a whole cow. But you're not allowed to start a fire. We're not giving you a knife, just figure out how you're gonna cook it. So almost telling me not to even have a cow to begin with, right? Because if I can't cook the cow, I can't start a fire because that's how I will cook the cow. And what's the point of even offering me the cow if I'm not even allowed to cook it, right? I don't know if that analogy made sense, but I just came up with it, right? And that's an issue that a lot of African youth are going through. Without, like, all right, let me touch base on things that are affecting most young Africans, especially females. When a female Africans living in the continent of Africa graduates college, right, goes apply for a job somewhere, let's just say is a good-looking young female, there are one of the two things that's going to happen in order for her to get a job and actually deserve her salary. Number one, you will either have to give sexual favors. All right, you will have to return sexual favors to your bosses or people that's in a position of power within the organization. You will have to give it up. If you don't, you're not getting a job. Or if you do end up getting hired, even after turning down, rejecting, you would suffer mistreatments, unfairness. It'll come to a point where you will just deem necessary to resign and go look for another job. But even when you go look for another job, the same scenarios will repeat itself. That's why most young Africans are entrepreneurs, and they have this business mindset with them, because a lot of the spaces where they go look for these opportunities are not giving it to them free of charge. You will have to give something back in returns. In case of females, they have to return sexual favors to hold on to their position. But the issue with that is when you're one of those females that's sexually liberal like that, trust me, the moment you give it up, it becomes repetitive. You will have to continue to give it up. And the moment you decide not to do it any longer, now your job could be at jeopardy, right? And a lot of men are treated so unfairly. The amount of money you will be making, it's damn near enough to sustain your lifestyle, to support your lifestyle. Putting all of this into perspective, and when our young Africans see these opportunities to, get a job at a different place without being, discriminated against or being asked to return some sort of sexual favor because of, the opportunities that were given to you to get a job, they are deciding to leave. Again, keep in mind, not everybody comes from a wealthy family where there are businesses and they can just walk in there and they don't have to apply for a job, and next thing you know, they're making all this money. Not everybody comes from that kind of background. There are some people that need to work so hard, that need to get a college education in order for them to be even able to apply for their very first job. And when they are stripped from those privileges because how evil certain individuals are, those are one of the primary reasons that are pushing, young Africans away from the continent of Africa to go look for employment opportunities elsewhere. And when they do, and they eventually make more money, that's when they come back. But to begin with, it's very, very difficult. When I mention an example of females applying for jobs and having to return sexual favors to earn a spot, it's not just coming from out of the blue. I have friends that I went to high school with whom I still in communication or in contact with. We have these conversations all the time, and they tell me all these kind of stories, right? It's very sad to see people abusing their power to only gang up on other people's, daughters like that. I had a friend from high school tell me like, yo, I think she's a journalist now. She's like, you see a lot of this female journalists on TV, and it's, big news outlets. My man, trust me, if they didn't get a recommendation straight from their father or family member who is influential working for that news outlet organization, they 99% of them had to give up the coochie to get a job. If you don't do that, goodbye. They don't care how smart you is. They don't care about none of that. They only care about what's in between your legs. That's what interests them the most. Especially a good, beautiful looking young female. That's what they want from you, right? And this is happening so much so that some people, because they come from a family where there's poverty, they don't have nobody to stick out their neck for them, they don't have a choice. And especially, you don't have no means to get out of the country due to how costly, immigrating to another country could be. They found themselves sort of demands so that they can just get a job. And see what I'm saying? And this is happening in most African countries. I'm not only speaking on behalf of Congo, that's why I generalize. You guys, let me know in the comment section if you relate to things that I'm telling you. But these are stuff that are happening. This is real. And that's why sometimes I wonder, even all of this other government officials that are females, I don't know if they're aware of these things or if there's even something that they can do about it. Because keep in mind, people are going through it, in a lot of African countries. Again, female, for instance. I'm gonna tell you one story. I used to date this chick, right? Back in the day. She lived in Congo when I was here in America. Things didn't work out, unfortunately. She graduated college. She got a bachelor's degree in finance or something along the line. She had opportunities to work for a lot of government, enterprises and stuff. And one of her biggest issues that she always had was people asking to sleep with her if she wanted to climb the ladder within the organization. Because she didn't want to do that, she never lasted more than 6 months in any place that she has worked for. But because she also kind of, grew up selling her stuff and, being actually taking care of herself, she just was just like, you know what, I might as well just start a small business or something, or sell clothes. So she orders stuff from Turkeys, and when they get delivered, she sells them and she makes money like that. Now she's into multiple businesses and things like that. She didn't want to do it, but she was forced to do it because of the realities that she endured, that she went through. And she used to tell me a lot about that. She's like, I'm not the only one. And when she gets to certain places and talking to females that are hired there, and they'll tell her, they will have these conversations, right? They're like, you ain't never, well, I never gave it up. They're like, well, trust me, you will feel so annoyed to the point where either you will need to leave this job or you will just have to give it up. Those are females that she's, coworkers she's having conversation with and telling her all of these disgusting things. So how much more can people take this sort of behavior, right, until something is done about it? Is there something you and I can do about it rather than talking about it to raise awareness? And that's exactly what I'm doing, by the way, by talking about this stuff, right? And no wonder African youth do not want to stay in Africa because of these reasons being one of them, okay? But when you you move to another country, you get a job, it's meritocracy because you went to college, you graduated, you had a job interview, right? and you went through background checks and all that, everything looked good. That's why they offered you a job, and they expecting you to do a great job because you have proven them during your interview and all the steps required to earn your employment, right? So there is no questions asked that you're going to do a better job because you have shown that you're capable of doing so. But such things is much different from a lot of African countries because you will have to prove more than just being intelligent. It goes even in schools. Corruption is everywhere. You are a college student, you earn your credits, whatever the case may be. For some reason, your grades come up missing. Something is wrong. But you have to talk to your professor assistant about it. And the conversation is not going to be free. You're going to have to pay for it, right? And in some instances, females will have to give up sex, right? You have to give it up, girls. Well, if you don't, then you fail the class. Do you want to fail the class because for your parents' hard-earned money and you know that they're going to be mad at you? Of course you're going to want to do that, right? Because they're forcing your hands to do so. Believe it or not, guys, these are the things that are happening. But because people don't have choice, some people get into these practices, they think it's okay. Some people, they just make peace with, going through it until, God, miracles fulfills and they somehow, I don't know, win a lottery or some other miracles or whatnot. Understand what I'm saying? So these opportunities exist, but they only exist for certain elites that are running these countries. They do not exist for the very same population who get up and go to the polls to elect these crooked politicians. And it is very sad that there is nothing still being done about these sort of practices. It's very, very disgusting, okay? When the youth is marginalized, what do you expect? Do you really expect them to stick out the neck for the country? That's why a lot of them are talking smack about their government and how much they're trying to get out of the country because the government has not done anything to benefit them. They have not done anything to empower them to be proud members of society. There is one thing just being born a citizen, and there is another thing being proud citizens, right, of a certain country or a certain society. When you are growing up in a nation where the government is really supportive of the youth and that they believe that the youth is the next generation is trusted upon to do greater things, you will have a very different motivation staying in that country because you see that if I work hard, I will earn a spot later on down the road and probably do better for the next generation. But when you are seeing those opportunities fading away, only existing for elites, family members, you really don't want to be a part of it, do you? And what you're only going to preach is that, hey, do what you got to do, but pack your things, get out of here. And the more people do it, the more the country is hurting because the youth is supposed to be the lanes and the chance to change things around the country. But when the youth is pushed away, right, from participating in political procedures, from participating in the development of the country, because they think because you're young you don't have anything better to bring to the table, and that's very problematic, right? And believe it or not, most African governments don't really give a crap. Politics, it's a dirty game, and that's why I never recommend getting into politics so deep. Politics will get you killed. Politics will cause a lot of stress in your life. And politics, man, people talk about things and they do things when it benefit them, but when it benefit the other party or the opposing side, they just justify the reasons why it's very bad, right? So we all know that. So there you go, guys. That's the topic that I have for you this morning. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for really giving me your time and to listen to what I had to say. If you liked the live stream or you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and look forward for more videos like this. Until the next one, I'll see you guys soon. Happy Sunday. Peace out.